Hello there. I took a break and repositioned the camera. Realized that I was getting some flare from above, and so I moved in closer, as you can see, changed things around, and I can see there's a picture of the. That's the cover of the book. It's another notebook. Which anyway, that's what it looks like without my writing on it. Okay, so anyway. Yeah, in fact, actually, I went in and uploaded the Eulogy for Oscar to YouTube just a minute ago to my Richard Del Conner channel. Okay. Yeah, this type stuff, this Tao of Taoism, this would go in the Shaolin She Mantis channel. Oh, it could be Richard Del Conner. I think I even have a Buddha Z channel, so sheesh, and a Kung Fu Cowboy channel. But anyway. Number two, we got through number one, right? That's where we left off. So, number two, the nature of each person is a collection of various characters and identities. Wow. Remember I told you about, I didn't know about the 5 souls. I was like, the information was in me somewhere. Even the best or most pronounced abilities do not represent anyone as a description. Yeah, so if you were to like say, somebody won an Academy Award, you know, for doing something, does that really represent them as a person? Is that who they are? Is that what they do? Is that what they do on a daily basis? I'm trying out these glasses. These are my computer glasses. Anyway, what you might be famous for may not represent you at all. And that's what really drives people over the edge, is when they become famous for something they're not, and then they try to be that thing that they're not. And that never goes well. I'm sorry, I laughed. People's tragedies does not amuse me. And by the way, if you do feel amused by people's tragedies or stubbing their toes and stuff, that means there's a woman in the first position. That's one of the clues. In other words, if you say, I don't care, that's a woman in the first position. So you can kind of figure out who's who a little bit. You can start looking at your friends and saying, hey, hold it. That guy is actually a woman's soul in the first position, because he says, I don't care, and he's emotional. And anyway, let's keep going. Okay, so let's read that again. This is interesting, because see, some of this information has kind of bubbled up in a whole way that I never expected it to when I discovered the truth of it. The nature of each person is a collection of various characters and identities. Oh, especially me, but I'm part of the 1 or 2%, so I don't represent reality. There are 80% of people, 60% for sure, but we'll say 80% of all people are the same. So they're kind of like 2 souls. There's obviously so many combinations you can make with 4 positions. And so if you take you can call them a male and a female soul, but that's not. So you shouldn't call them that. Ink on my finger. I got a bump on my head. Yeah. I get sensitive too. I must have hit it yesterday. It's a little swollen. When I was working in there, I had to pull stuff out, and I was digging through and plugging an extension cord. So, well, one of those little excursions, you know, I don't even think about it. Oh, wow, you know, just keep going. But when I looked at it, I go, yeah, I think I remember bumping my head, but I couldn't even remember where I did it. But I think I do, but I didn't care. It doesn't matter. The only thing I do is try not to repeat it, but whatever it was, I was in a weird position. So, anyway, the nature of each person is a collection of various characters and identities. Even the best or most pronounced abilities do not represent anyone as a description. Okay? So, yeah, so like I said, my 5 souls theory really kind of works with this amazingly. So let's see how it fits into this. Whoa. Describe your own nature as you know it. Yikes! I haven't read ahead here. I wasn't prepared for that. I don't know if I should tell you. It might be better if I talk about somebody else, somebody more normal. Joe Rogan. I was just thinking about him a minute ago. He's a woman in the first position. I was trying to figure that out because he's been in the martial arts and everything. But I thought he should be, but I knew he wasn't somehow, and I kind of figured it out. He's a woman in the first position, but then he's a warrior, and then a worker, and then, well, I didn't think about it that far. Who have I thought about more? David Lee Roth. Once again, he's one of the weirdos now. David Lee Roth is like me, or a totally different version of me, but he's got, I don't have a woman soul. See, I only got 5, and the one I'm missing is the woman, believe it or not. Although when I was raising the kids, I would pop it in the 4th position. You know, I'd unplug the business management. I'm a business manager, and then I could just throw it in there. So anyway, this one's fluid, so I threw the woman in there a lot to raise my kids. But now that I'm not raising my kids, it doesn't make any sense to be emotional and impatient. I mean, so anyway. And I don't want to reproduce. So I mean, it doesn't. So anyway. But I can't choose the same one that's here. So I've got, that gives me 4, so I got 4 out of 5 to choose from. And so let's see. Okay, well, all right, I'll tell you about me. That's the one I know about the best. Other people are gonna get pissed off. But David Lee Roth, I actually recorded a video on him, so I'll mention him. I was so impressed with him. He shocked me. I didn't really know him. I'd seen him in concert. I saw him with Van Halen back in the 83, maybe? Anyway, let's see. I can remember who I went with. That's why I'm saying 83. Okay. First of all, he's a warrior. That's why he's just nuts. I mean, he was talking his stories and the things he does. It's like, to everybody else, he's nuts. But he's not nuts. He's a warrior. He, adventure and excitement and purpose and drive. He's driven. He's a warrior, and that's an amazing thing. That's why we're rare. There are only about 2 to 4%, maybe 5%. I'm not sure. It'd be nice. That's why I'm looking forward to doing studies and actually getting some government money, or just getting my own money and having people sign up and take the tests, and I can kind of figure out stuff better. But anyway, he's a warrior in the first position. I can see my spots. Sorry, red ink. I'm doing diagrams and stuff. Actually, what was I writing? Oh, in this book. This from writing earlier. I had the red pen, wherever it is. I was going to write what I talk, but I'm not. Don't seem to be writing. Oh, there it is. Okay. Anyway, David Lee Roth is a warrior in the first position. That's why he seems so radical and crazy to everybody. And okay. Now, in the second position, though, I thought about it. I have to remember, to be honest with you, I got it on tape, and I did a good thing on it because I was fresh and I had all the information in my ready and my reasons for it. I remember the last position was the worker. In the 4th position was the worker. And it's usually in the first or second. But in his case, it's way down here because he's got the warrior and the woman. Oh, that was it. And a warrior. He's a double warrior. That's why even Joe Rogan thinks Joe Rogan just couldn't get him. He's like, watch the interview with Joe Rogan. It's a great show. They both do. They both say some really good stuff. It's very illuminating. And I really found myself appreciating myself. I'm a warrior. I found myself, wow, I really like you, David. You're really cool. I like that extra oomph he's got. I mean, I just think that's so cool. I mean, that's kind of me. I'm out there driving around on dirt roads in the desert doing videos and stuff. And, you know, usually us warriors were driven. It's an internal thing. We don't need to be bribed. A worker is bribed. To tell you a little bit more about the 4 souls. The worker can be bribed. Okay, anybody who can be bribed to do something. Now, a woman can be bribed, but only for short term. But I'm talking about long term. In other words, you can ration it out. I don't want to say slave or something, but the point is that it is kind of like slavery. He's going to be a non-complaining cog in the wheel for years and years and years. It's a steady part, real steady. He's not the person who says, I don't care, because that's the person you fire. Because if somebody who doesn't care, they're going to mess up something. So the wheels are going to jam up, something's going to explode, it's going to start a fire, people are killed because somebody didn't care. No, you don't want those people. That's not a worker. Okay, that's always the woman. So anyway, so the worker, the worker. Okay, so you got a worker soul, but you can tell who they are, and it's a man or woman. Half of all women are workers. That shocked me. Now you got to remember, I come from that. Like I said, I come from the old homophobe 50s. You know, I was born in '54, and so anyway. But the point is that And so I was, but the reason I said that wasn't the homophobe part. It was that fact that it wasn't until about 20 years ago I couldn't understand why a woman would want to go to work. Why would you want to stay home? You know, when I was a kid, they sit home, sip margaritas, and have one-third the places, maybe a quarter, all the homes in my neighborhood, all the swimming pools, and they had all their pool servicemen, and those legends are true. I saw them, and but anyway, the point being is that they had a great life, you know, room and board, a pool, all the booze you could drink, and all you got to do is be there when the kids show up and give them breakfast in the morning, and go to bed with your husband, and you know, I guess maybe that sounds like a lot of work, but anyway, it seemed like an easy life to me. I was a Mr. Mom, so that's another reason I can say that. We'll get back to that. Okay, so the souls, there's 5 of them. You ready? This will be the first time I've ever told them online. This is it, the very first time. It's been 10 minutes, 15, we've been 11 minutes into this. Should I save that for another video and do the announcement? Well, let's make this a long video, what the heck. Less people will make it this far, and so they won't even see it. My sense of humor, that's why. Like I said, I'm used to people not getting me. After 60 years of watching people just not understand me, you just get a sense of humor. Doesn't mean I like it, but I kind of accept it a little bit. Here we go. First soul, worker, okay? Worker. Half of all women are workers, and that's why I was saying that now I understand why women want to work. It's because they're workers. It's not that they're all women. Half of them are actually a worker. So, okay, so half of all women want to work. Now, half of all men are women. Those are the emotional. Like Trump. Trump's a woman. McConnell's a woman. Cruz is a woman. I mean, all these guys, I mean, they're women. Remember, half of all men are women. And they love power. Women want power and security. And so, yeah, they make it in government. So the Republican side is almost all women. You talk about a matriarchal society. That's what we have right now. Half of, and I haven't analyzed, I don't know all the senators, you know, but the ones I'm just telling you, the liars, Cruz, all those dishonest guys, those are all women. Those are all the women's souls. And that's not the before women. I'm going to explain the whole thing. It's okay. You know, it's just that women operate under a different kind of, remember we were talking about the Tao. That's what this is about. Each of these has their own Tao, their own way of seeing the Tao. A warrior sees a Tao and he sees opportunity totally differently, circumstances. His view, his perspective, and his reaction. You just got to be more open-minded on this, okay? A woman reacts and sees things in a certain way, okay? And that's it. That's a woman's soul we're talking about, not the female, not the female mind that's conditioned and programmed, but I'm talking about the souls here. And they're a little different. They're similar, but different, okay? Because they're all kind of like a template. They're a starting point for everybody. So anyway, then the next one, so worker and the woman. Those are 80% of all people are these, you know. Like a woman she's a woman, and then she's a worker, and then she's a woman, and then she's a worker. Boom. Okay, and that's it. Yeah, and so it all makes sense. So if she's a woman and she's got a worker, okay, so she's got a job, and she does her job just like 40, 50 years or whatever, 30 years, however long people work now before they retire. Things are changing. It used to be kind of standards. Now it's like people pay you under, they don't really have you full time, so they don't pay your insurance, they don't keep you long. There's not that kind of employer loyalty to the employees there used to be. So I've seen things change, and I've seen the union world get crushed. Oh God, people are so naive. They believe Fox News. Unions are the best thing to happen to the workforce. The best thing that's ever happened to the workforce. They have an OSHA, and OSHA wouldn't happen without the unions. But anyway, so where were we? I was going to give you the souls. It's 14 minutes. Okay, here we go. Longest Instagram, I don't know. But anyway, you got the worker soul. He's the one who's saying, I can. Okay, and you can bribe him. The woman, you can push her. Okay, so you can bribe her on the short term, but she's not going to last long in the same position that this guy would. She's good for different things, but not that. Okay, and then the next one I mentioned the warrior. Now the warrior is totally different. Like he's an opportunist. You don't have to bribe him. He has to believe. If he believes in the cause, he'll do it. He'll work harder than the worker for free. Look, I mean, you pay him anyway. You got to take care of him. But the point is that he'll exceed this guy's. He'll work around, Different type of attitude, different type of loyalty. I came to realize that people who have their cars for a long time, there's one of the ways you can find warriors kind of hidden in the lower levels. People who keep this one guy, he had this like classic car. It was like beautiful from the 50s. He was my age, a little older maybe. And I said, wow, you've had that in the 60s. He's just kept it up. And why? I was trying to figure that out. It was a couple of years ago when I was still developing my soul theory. And I came to realize that somewhere within him, he had that warrior soul. And the reason I came to figure that out was, as I asked him questions and talked to him, I came to realize he couldn't stop playing baseball. So here he was, like 60, 70 years old or whatever, and he's out there coaching the kids, but he's got to do it. And he wasn't just, I'm going to do it with my kids. No, they weren't even his kids. He just, but that was the war. And so the warrior, I started to tag the warrior and loyalty. You can kind of see things tagged together. Okay, certain qualities. Okay, but remember, we're all actors and we're all trained to supposedly be able to be anything. The musician. Now, the musician is the most complicated, but it's all artists. All artists, mathematicians and scientists, all the creative thinkers. I'm just calling them musician because I need one word. But all the artists, all the creative people, writers, everybody, they're all this one particular type of soul. All my life I've been trying, like my own kids, I tried to train my kids to be artists, but they weren't. They didn't have the artist soul. I mean, they were able to repeat my lessons. I could train them. And a lot of the professional artists that are actually maybe even teaching art may not even have an artist soul in them. Actually, they may be forcing it in that fourth position, which is good, and that's good. But they don't innately have it in the top three, which is more significant. Those are the ones where the art comes out of you. This one down here can do it. He can imitate. Somebody writes a song, they put it on paper, they can train him to move his fingers and see the notes, and whammo, you're like a player piano, and you can make music. And then you can get better at it, and people will call you a musician, but you're not. You're actually just a worker playing music. That's not a musician. So and that's what we've done is we haven't realized that artists, we've like Mao Zedong, we've thrown them all out into the fields and let them die and not let them produce their art. That's why America's like, this century is like, there's no art. It's because nobody supported the artists. All the artists didn't believe that they were artists. And nobody supported them, so they didn't even produce. So this century is devoid of art. Man, there hasn't been any good music. I'm serious. I come from the 60s when there was a lot of interesting musicians and players and things going on. I know what it's like to be in a renaissance of artistic thinking. You don't, so you just can't imagine it. You just can't. It's hard for me to almost remember it. It's like, wow, that was so different from now. So different. The way you'd meet people, the way you talk to people. I'm not talking about it just happens on the television and the radio. It's everywhere, that artistic temperament. It's a Tao. Remember the Tao, this is what this book is about. The Tao changes. The Tao of this earth has been changed, and we can change it. We influence it. We have an effect on it. Like I said, we may be the parasitic curse of this earth. Where were we? Hey, 17 minutes. So anyway, did I give you all the souls? Oh, no, I think I left out one. Okay, so I think of them in letters, and then I kind of do formulas. And when I started off, I was trying to figure out algebra here. But anyway, the woman and the worker are W's, and they're on the bottom level. They're kind of equal. They swap. They're the husband-wife, They always work together and support each other, and without them, things don't go on. So they're the yin and the yang. That's the most important part. That's why they're 80% of this planet. Now, what's the other 20%? Well, that's what takes us out of the animal sphere. That's what causes us to rise above just being animals that reproduce. And that's these other three qualities up here. Now, these other three up here, well, actually, I actually put the warrior down here because it's really the woman, the worker, and the warrior are kind of like really similar. And the warrior is good for, can make a good husband, if he survives. But anyway, so the warrior and the worker can be interchangeable to the woman's soul, so you can mix with either of those and kind of get the same thing. But she's going to be more irritated with this guy. This guy's like the policeman or maybe the movie maker. He's not around much, so she'll cheat on him or he'll cheat on her, and it's not going to work. So that's why these two, the worker and the woman, that works the best. That's the family. That makes the most consistency, less problematic. That has a great balance. So I don't want to, when I talk about these things, I'm not trying to fault them. I'm just trying to put them in their proper place. We have to appreciate them for what they are and stop trying to force them to be what they're not. And that's why we have kids, I guess, having all these psychological problems, is that they're trying to be something that they're not, and they're so sensitive now. They're not raised as tough as I was in my day to just kind of weather through your discomforts and misgivings. Nowadays, they're more nervous. I accept that. My own kids, I wish they would have come out tougher. I wish I could have had them. I would never even shot a gun with either one. You go, see, I mean, you millennials, man. I think that's just part of growing up. Yeah, that window open. Is that yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's safer for people to have shot a gun and know how to clean it and use it than it is for someone to never have shot it or used it. I think they're more dangerous. I think that that's a more dangerous person. Because the moment they touch a gun, you know, then whammo, what's going to happen? Nobody knows. That's not good. When somebody's handling a gun, you want to know that gun is in good hands. Simple as that. Okay, where were we? 20 minutes. I guess we'll have to come back to this page. That's why I'm getting this out of my system before I actually go record my audiobook in the other studio. I gotta get all this out of my system. So, okay, 20 minutes. I'm gonna leave it at that. But you get, oh, I didn't give you that fifth soul. Coming up, next video.